We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image. Let's rock. If you're new to the tribe, we got Rich behind the mix, rowdies across the table. My name is Yanni Baumeister and we are Unity Gym, experts at turning driven people into athletes. This episode is brought to you by the Unified Movement System, the online program that balances strength, flexibility and fitness so you can unleash your inner athlete. Get daily coaching by us, plus both our epic gym and home UMS programs. As a valued listener, use the link in the description to get your first month free. Before we get started, I always like to give a big shout out to anyone watching on our YouTube channel. Remember to hit that like button. The more likes we get, the more people will see this great content, and always subscribe if you like what you see. I'm super excited to announce that today we have Phil White from ADPT Physio joining us, and the great Sebastian Oreb, aka Bass, from Australian Strength Coach and thestrengthsystem.com.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Bass. And if you didn't know, Bass started work in the fitness industry in 2004, first as a personal trainer and strength coach, and then moved into personal trainer education. 5 years ago, Bass stopped coaching one-on-one in the gym and moved to running face-to-face workshops, online education, and coaching strength training. Bass has coached professional athletes from a variety of sports, including rugby, UFC, boxing, CrossFit, powerlifting, strongman, and fitness modeling. His most recent project is a program design software for personal trainers. That sounds awesome. Thanks for joining us again, Bass, and thanks for joining us, Phil.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time since I saw you
last,
but it's always great to catch up.
Always.
Absolutely. It feels like it was just yesterday that we had you in here.
Yeah.
So
5 minutes ago.
Look, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your recent transformation, because for so many years I've watched you. I mean, when you were, for those of you that didn't know, Bass used to train his clients out of Unity Gym. And I remember when I first asked you, so this was long after we'd first met, but when I first asked you how much you weighed, you were somewhere between 90 and 95. I think you were competing in the under 90. And then you got up to well above 110, right, at your top. And I've watched you on social media. We've chatted to you at your heaviest weights.
What was the heaviest you got to?
118 kilograms.
Be honest, yeah.
Yeah. 118, which I don't know what it is in pounds, like 260-ish pounds.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And how tall are you, just for those?
179. But I say 6 feet in shoes, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, okay, That's what you tell the girls.
That's what we tell the girls.
Recently, I've seen you on social media. We haven't seen each other face to face for 6 months or so, but you've been, talking about that you're losing weight and that you're cutting calories. I saw you recently do a post about doing a 70-kilo dumbbell press, and you were really planning on getting a lot more reps, but you only got 7. And everybody knows 7 reps doesn't count, doesn't do anything for you.
Unfortunately.
What's behind it, Bass? What's behind the weight cutting and the reduction in calories and all that stuff?
Yeah, so as you said, when you first asked me, which was probably about 6 years ago, I was about 90. You hit the nail on the head. I was competing in the 90-kilogram class. So I was always sitting between 90 to 95. And actually, that was quite heavy for me. When I first started training with weights at this height, I was 63 kilograms. Yeah. So I'm not naturally a big guy. So to be this size takes a lot of work with eating and training. And I've kind of become a fanatic, just like everyone in this room, in this industry. So being 118 kilograms, which was my peak in weight and strength as well, was extremely uncomfortable for me. It was great for lifting a heavy barbell on the spot, but nothing else in life was nice. 118 kilograms, walking across the road, I'd get back pump and I'd need to take a seat and just rest, because my back wasn't like a spinal injury. It was, the erector spinae just filled up with blood and I'd cramp and I couldn't move. So I'd have to take a seat and just wait till that recovered a little bit, which isn't nice. Taking your t-shirt off I need help with. From anyone else in the room, you have to take it off for me. Sleeping, I needed a CPAP machine because I snore too much when I'm a heavy body weight, and it's just not healthy. Just overall, there's so many things I could list, but it's just not nice. It's really great to make great Instagram videos where you're lifting huge amounts of weight, and it was a really nice feeling as well. I love the sport of powerlifting. I love the adrenaline involved in getting under a heavy barbell and pushing the body to do something that you couldn't do before. And most other people in the world actually can't do either. It's a really nice buzz to have that, but there's so much more to life than just standing on the spot and lifting a heavy weight.
And can we talk about some numbers for
Yeah,
while you're at
that's
the top
right.
there?
I'm like sitting here going,
We
what
talked
was
about the weight loss. I'm like,
because last year you squat 400 and
I squatted 400 kilograms.
400
that
kilos.
was my most for a 1 rep max. But I was training myself to squat more in competition. I never lift the weights in training. I always lift more in competition, and that's part of my deloading strategy and not beating myself up. And whenever I coach my super heavyweight athletes, it's always saving the heaviest till competition day.
Yeah.
So
Is there many people in Australia that can squat 400 kilos?
there's a handful of people, not at my body weight. If I did that in competition, I would have been the lightest 400 kilogram squatter in Australia.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So it would have been a great achievement, and I would have loved to have done it had there been a competition available. But with COVID, what was it, to 2020, when I went, as soon as COVID started and all the lockdowns began, I was training up for a competition in Melbourne. I was Pro Raw at the Arnold's in Melbourne, and that got called off. And I thought, okay, I'll try and maintain my peak because I'm sure there'll be a competition a few months later. And of course, as we all know, there wasn't, because COVID went for a lot longer than a few months. Anyway, we thought we saw the finish line with COVID, and the competition was announced for the 2nd of October. So I gave myself 16 weeks. So that was this year, 2nd of October, we're 2021.
Yep.
So I gave myself 16 weeks to prepare for this competition. So, I moved from 210 kilograms and gradually put on a little bit more weight. So I got to 216 kilograms, getting close to October, and then the lockdowns got extended, and there was interstate guests that were also invited, that it wasn't feasible to hold the competition because these were the main competitors. Like, there's not a huge amount of competitors in Australia, full stop. So we needed to get as many as we could all around the country. And the best competitors weren't able to come because of the lockdown. So they went from October 2nd to December something, I forget the date, but that was going to be another 10 weeks, which would have meant for me a 26-week prep, which is half the year. And I've never really spent that long kind of eating food and being that heavy body weight and lifting super heavy weights for half a year. It's a lot on my body. It's a lot on my joints. And it's a huge commitment, not just on my body, but also my family as well, because to train like that is a very selfish thing.
Yeah.
My life revolved around it, and I've got 2 daughters, a wife, and business partners and staff, and I've got so much going on to tell everyone to hold up, because training is my highest priority right now, as well as eating and everything else that comes with it. For half the year was very hard, but I committed to it anyway. I thought it might be the last one. I wanted to do this by the age of 40. 40 years old now. And I thought that would be a great achievement to be able to achieve 1,000 kilogram powerlifting total at the age of 40, and then maybe kind of stop powerlifting after that. Anyway, the event coordinator put a notice out saying we're postponing again till April next year. And I just thought, you know what, I've had enough of walking around at this body weight, being uncomfortable, being selfish, being unhealthy, and everything else that comes along with it. So that's it. As soon as I could, I just lost the weight. So I actually lost, in the first month, I lost probably about 8 kilograms.
Yeah, wow.
And it's not because I've got some
special weight loss program that
there's
we're
none-
about to launch.
Yeah. There's none of that. But it was actually because my body doesn't like being that big, and it's just very easy for me to just simply not eat as much.
Yeah.
So it wasn't any, people asking me how I'm training to support this fat loss, and I'm training the same way, just not as heavy, because I'm not as strong, because I'm not as heavy.
Yeah.
So I'm training the same way, which is the way that I've just loved training this way, which is lifting pretty much heavy weights for low reps, typical strength training with a bias towards the powerlifting movements, because that's what I'm good at, and I like training that way.
Yeah.
Not because it's the best, that it's more superior to fat loss than any other method. The best way to lose fat is intelligent approach to nutrition. So that's pretty much all I did. Is I lost a lot of weight, and now I'll tell you, I'm pretty comfortable. I can not only walk across the road, but
can you take your own shirt off?
I can,
Yeah.
I can, which is a big one. I can wipe my own butt as well.
Things are looking up.
It's a great thing.
And sprinting.
Yeah, I used to sprinting started, but that hurt me a lot at this old age. I'll tell you what. My knees hurt, my everything, my ankles hurt.
How does
I don't
boxing
know.
feel?
Boxing, To be honest with you, that's the sport that I am doing now. It comes with a few aches and pains that I wasn't used to. I used to do boxing over a decade ago, but I stopped that in favor of powerlifting. So I'm a lot slower than I used to be.
How are your hands?
No, they're fine.
Really?
Yeah, my wrists and I don't even wrap my hands anymore. That's the least of it because I don't know, they're strong from lifting heavy weight, I guess.
Yeah.
My knees, my toes, weird things, things that I would never have thought was associated with boxing. But yeah, my back.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm just so out of condition. But yeah, I've gradually gone from 2 days a week to 3 days a week to now 4 days a week. I'd like to take that up to 6 days a week because that's just how I am with everything that I do. I don't half-ass anything.
Yeah.
How's the saying go? I full-ass everything. So that's what I'm doing with boxing. I'm really prioritizing that now, and that's not what I owe to the fat loss. It's not the boxing. I lost all of the weight before the boxing just through eating less. And I don't want to, oversimplify it for the audience and say that's all you need to do to lose weight. For me, I am very regimented with my nutrition protocols. I eat a lot of good food. This time I just ate less of that good food. And now, to put it into perspective and give you numbers, it's probably about 3,000 to 3,500 calories per day, whereas I used to be eating 6,000 calories per day. So
wow.
6,000 calories a day is a full-time job for me.
A lot of food.
And now all of a sudden I'm just not working as hard. Like, it's easier for me to lose this weight.
Yeah. And have you got a goal weight in mind that you want to get down to?
I'm at my goal weight, which was 100 kilograms.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's my own personal barrier that I didn't want to get below. But now that I'm boxing and I'm watching myself, and although I feel skinny compared to what I used to be, when I look at videos of myself boxing, it's kind of like I look a little bit too big and stocky for this sport.
Yeah.
So I'm now even considering dropping another 5 kilograms.
What do you weigh now?
100 on the dot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so 16 kilograms in the last 3 months. And I feel great. And I used to snore when I was awake.
Yeah.
I used to just sit there and it's like, what's happening to me? But I was good at lifting barbells and literally that is all.
Yeah.
But now none of those little things, like people listening to this would go, what's this guy talking about? Life's not that hard. Well,
this is the thing. I mean, there was a lot of talk about this in the media for the Olympics because they were delayed a year because of COVID, and you had all these athletes peak, and it's a big deal to peak your performance for a big meet like that, like the Olympics, and then they had to sort of maintain it, and it just threw everyone out, and everyone was bitching and complaining about it. But most of those people, other than that, maybe the fighters and the weightlifters, but very few of them had to maintain a ridiculous amount of unnatural weight, which throws a whole new element into it, which, as you say, is very unhealthy for one, but it's also just really uncomfortable. It's not just a matter of getting to the gym and keeping your performance at that peak level. You just got to you can't escape it.
If you understand what a peak is, if we could maintain that peak for a long period of time, it's no longer called a peak. It's just what it is.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's how it goes. It's like they see people lifting on Instagram, or this is the beauty of social media. That people get surprised. Why aren't you lifting the weight that you used to be able to lift? It's like, no, it took a lot of preparation to be able to do that, and you just can't hold these levels of strength or performance for extended periods of time. The body just doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So that's right, and that's actually a bigger example, and a much more difficult example is the Olympics, and something that I talk more about beyond the capability of the human body is what you have to commit to in the remainder of your life to, like, how selfish I am just for little old powerlifting. These Olympic level athletes, I guarantee you, the arguments at home with the loved ones and the support that they need from everyone around them. Not to mention, a lot of these Olympic sports aren't even paid that well. So they're technically done for the love of the sport.
Yeah. And
we're expected to be, I shouldn't say we as if I'm an Olympic athlete, but high-level athletes are expected to commit that much to performing at a high level for that extended period of time. I don't want to say it's impossible because the Olympic athletes did it, but it's just not easy.
Yeah, I think for a lot of the people watching this would have gone through when they started a new sport, like particularly getting into strength training, you just get such quick improvements and you feel like you're kind of peaking every week because you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger early on. But yeah, it's a very different game getting 10% stronger at a beginner level when you're just getting all these great neural adaptations happen quickly versus getting 10% stronger for you would be like at your peak would have been
more than a year.
astronomical,
It takes
like-
more than a year.
Exactly.
And like if you think about Olympic weightlifting, it's
Yeah.
not a 10% gain. You
No.
think about the world record, and it probably jumps by a couple of kilograms
Yeah.
in 4 years. So
Yeah. So if you-
10% per year is just not how
so
it works.
early on,
anymore.
if you feel like you're peaking, you're like, oh, I can recover after that. That's no problem. It's like there's a very big difference between like when you're a beginner versus when you're at a peak performance and then trying to, peaking then. So
Totally.
it's just a-
Newbie gains is what it's
Yeah.
called, and it
Yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I keep trying new sports all the time. Every like year and a half, I just start a new sport because I'm like, I don't want to do the hard work.
You want to keep being a newbie and keep getting those newbie
Seriously,
gains
man.
everywhere you
Yeah.
go.
It's great for the ego.
Yeah, of course.
That's right. Absolutely.
Have you spoken to Thor about how he feels after his weight loss? Is he feeling good?
He feels amazing. I don't speak to him that much because I'm not involved in his
His training
his,
at the moment,
training
yeah.
because it's not about strength anymore.
Yeah.
I do help him with any of the strength program that he needs,
Yeah.
which is very minimal for what he's currently doing.
Yeah.
He's spending majority of his time doing the important things, which is learning how to box.
Mhm.
But when I did ask him about his body weight, I know he feels incredible. I speak about a back pump. He used to get pump in his calves, a pump in his quadriceps. He'd walk a small distance and need to sit down. He was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, wow.
So now I know he said that he loved the difference.
Yeah.
He's a man of few words,
Yeah.
but I guarantee you that's too hard to come back from for him to want to go back to strongman and get away from the way he's feeling at the moment would be a too big of a commitment.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking on his behalf and saying that he won't come back to strongman. I don't know what he'll want to do, but I just know from personal experience from losing 16 kilograms, he's lost 50.
Yeah.
He would feel amazing.
And it's very hard once you've been at that elite level. I don't speak from experience, but I can only imagine, even when I used to box, and when I stopped boxing for a little while, I didn't really want to just go back and do it as a sort of once or twice a week thing. You just know that the moment you get in the gym, you start to really get indoctrinated back into that lifestyle, and you're like, oh, I want to go at this again properly, And I think if you were at an elite level like that, yourself included, to go back to it, it'll be very hard not to benchmark yourself against what you were doing at that elite level and kind of go, okay, well, that's where my expectation is. Let's see if I can get there again.
Which is so hard on the ego.
Yeah.
And it's like to come back to even weight training from where he is now,
Yeah.
to come under, like I've given him programs where I've prescribed things like 200 kilogram squats. Like the guy's best squat is 460 kilograms.
Yeah.
So to come under 200 and for it to feel difficult
Yeah.
is so demotivating.
Yeah.
To know it's like, wow, I this used to be nothing for me. Bench pressing 140 kilograms for him now, it's like just what most people are doing.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
gym bros
Yeah.
golden weight. That's 3 plates aside.
Yeah.
For him, he's working weight normally is 5 plates aside.
Yeah.
To have to cut it back to that much is not a nice feeling.
Yeah.
So that's exactly right. And and that's the thing. Like you said, you don't want to. When you've been at that level before, you know what it takes, and when you go into a new venture, you go all in, and so that's
Yeah.
what he's done with boxing
Yeah.
and the weight training. I don't know what it holds for him in the future.
Yeah. We'll see. And how
And
about
what
you?
about you?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. What about you for the future?
I don't know. My goal, I said before, I kind of wanted to do one last comp at 40 years old and put 1,000 kilograms on the board.
For that 1,000, what would the breakdown be for each of the lifts? What's
So
the goal?
400. So I've done 990 kilograms in training, which was 400 kilograms squat, 250 kilogram bench press, and then so that would stay. And then my deadlift was a little bit sub-maximal. I did 340, so I'd need that to be a 350. So I've done all of these numbers in the gym, it doesn't matter because you need to do it in competition to make it count. So I'm not counting that at all. But those were the numbers that I was confident that I was able to achieve. I was ready for it, and I was holding that peak for as long as possible. And then it just got to a point, like I said, it's now the next competition is April 2022. So that was another 5 months, which I could
that's
still
brutal.
compete then. But right now I can afford to, and it could actually be a great off season for me. Sorry, I just got a little bit far away from the mic then. It could actually be beneficial for my strength to back off and give my body a little bit of a rest, work on my cardiovascular fitness and other facets of my performance, and then come back and build a bigger base so that if I ever do come back to powerlifting, which may happen, who knows? I'm not going to commit to it anymore. I've done it too much. I've done too much to my family, my friends, and everyone around me. But if I did commit to it again, I think that I'll be coming back with a much broader base. So there's a saying, the pyramid will peak as high as the base is wide. So I'm doing a lot of base building at the moment. My strength, I still train weights 4 days a week. I'm boxing 4 days a week. So I'm training 8 sessions a week.
Yeah, that was one of the training principles that, like, having worked with you for so long, was one of the biggest ones I took away, which was looking at, a lot of people kind of have a favorite lift or a favorite type of training, and they'll just hammer that and hammer that. Like for you, I remember working with people who just had a huge bench press, but they wanted to get it even bigger, but then they neglected doing shoulder work or neglect doing the horizontal pull aspects and getting that system working together. And I think like that concept you have is just such a key principle for people who are trying to figure out training, is like, okay, maybe taking a step away, looking at where you've been neglecting is actually going to then get you further for the goal that you originally had.
Totally. There's so many levels to it. So it's structural balance is the way that I work. I learned that through Charles Poliquin was the first guy who introduced training for structural balance to me. And he did it in a very different way to the way that I do it currently. So for those who understand, you guys have done all of Poliquin's work. Yeah. You can get that. So quick plug for him, even though he sadly passed away, but you can Google that at home, Charles Poliquin structural balance, and he's got a whole bunch of percentages. So if your bench press is 100 kilograms, all of the other lifts will be a percentage of that. And if they're not, and you work towards making them a percentage of that, then you'll be in balance, and that'll make you stronger overall. So I don't do percentages like that because I believe everyone's got different proportions and techniques and styles and strengths and weaknesses. So I just use ratios of training your upper body as much as you train your lower body, training the front of your body as much as you train the back of your body. So we have a balanced physique. And a lot of people come to me, for example, I'm in the position where the athletes that come to me can already bench press like 200 kilograms, which is a funny position to be in. So I kind of see lots of really strong people. And usually these people come to me and it's like, how do you get a 200 kilogram bencher stronger? 99 times out of 100, it's not by doing more bench press. They're already doing that. It's the things that they're neglecting. So for most people, it's like, yeah, bench more. If you want to bench a lot, you got to bench a lot. But these high level athletes, they're already doing that, and probably a little bit too much of it. Yeah. And they need to factor in structural balance. And I've used those principles to work with athletes of all different sports. Instead of thinking you got to play the sport to understand the sport, step back from that and understand, my job isn't to get people good at boxing or good at basketball or great at throwing a kick or shooting a free throw. My job as a strength coach is to develop a strong athlete that moves well and is free from injury. Then it's the job of the skills coach to develop their skills. And that's what I committed to. And that's what I started to understand. You know, I don't imitate movements in the gym that they're going to be performing in the playing field. That's not a great idea, actually. So I specialize in what I specialize in. And that's the basis of my training is structural balance. So as I said, there's multiple levels of this. So I'm always working on structural balance, even as I'm peaking for a competition. But balance with health and lifestyle is a thing too. And it's not just balance within your body, it's balance within business, relationships, family. That's a huge component to a lot of high-level athletes' success, is they've got a lot of these facets of their lives taken care of. And if you want to get good at something, at one thing, something's got to give. So you can't let that. So when I was peaking for powerlifting, everything's in the back seat, and I can't do that for a long time. Yeah. So who knows what will come from this? I will never stop training with weights. I love strength training. It's what I'm about. I've invested a lot in a gym, just like you guys have. So,
and you've got the next generation doing strength training now.
Absolutely. So those who've been following, I've got my 11-year-old daughter is into the weights as well, and she's becoming quite the social media star at the moment, which I love. And it's a fine line between my competitive nature to get her to go all in with it, but it's like that's not what kids are all about. They want to still have a bit of fun, and actually it's important for kids to have a fun. And this is something that I know a lot about, this pyramid peaking high and building a base. That base building for a child is all about playing a diverse range of different sports, not just committing it to just one sport, which is the way that I train. It's the whole boring approach. If you want to get good at something, you do it. And try not to do everything else at the same time, because that's when things get muddled up. Yeah. But yeah, for children and for her, that's a whole new topic altogether. But that's part of base building as well. There's so many levels to building this base, and I do believe that it's something that I was hugely against back in the day, was cardiovascular fitness. But when you're snoring when you're awake, your resting heart rate is through the roof, your blood pressure is through the roof. Like people started saying to me, that I was a little bit more red than usual. And on my social media posts, it's like, yeah, it's because I'm lifting a heavy weight. But then it's like, there's not a big weight on my body at the moment and I'm still red.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's right. My blood pressure was high and I kept on saying, no, it's because I'm a powerlifter. And it's like, that's not a very good example to set. It's not a very good reason to be red.
Yeah.
It's not a very good thing to be red. You got to be healthy. You know, without health, you're nothing. So yeah, I don't know. I feel good. I don't know if I want to go back to being 116 or 118 kilograms again.
You look good, man.
Thank you. I
You look
appreciate
good.
that. You're looking good too, mate.
Thank you, mate.
You know, you're older than me, but you don't look it, which I'm a little bit jealous of.
He's older than
But
me. And he
we'll
doesn't
move
look
on.
it. Yeah, that's right. I've got my hat on to shield the true age. Yeah,
No,
no,
that's
that's fantastic, and it's really nice to watch that evolution of your sort of training and family and business. And I could get you in and get you to talk about the evolution of your business for a freaking hour in and of itself.
Which we probably will do.
Yeah, that's right.
but-
Maybe tomorrow.
But for those of you that have enjoyed that talk and want to learn more about what Bass does, he can be found on Instagram at Australian Strength Coach for more training related information. And you can enroll in any of Bass's amazing courses at strengthsystem.com. So go and check it out. And as always, Bass, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and Phil as well.
Where are they going to be able to find your new personal training software, and when's it going to launch?
Yeah, I'll advertise the hell out of that. So it's probably going to be launching in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I'll be posting it all over my Instagram. So that's the beauty of my Instagram. I kind of do everything there. So it'll be in it'll no doubt be in the link in my bio for that. But I'm very excited for that. Thanks for mentioning that.
Awesome.
That's
And thanks,
fantastic.
Phil, for joining us.
Always pleasure.
We'll see you on the next show, Bass.
See you guys soon.